Hi Clayton, how are you?
I'm good, Jim.
This is part 2 of our interview. We had the first discussion about your eyes, and since then you've been in the hospital twice. That's right, isn't it?
I've been in once for surgery, and I've been in another couple of times for checkups.
Okay, and we spoke on January the 3rd, and today is January the 16th, 2012.
Yes.
What day did you go in hospital?
For the operation, it was the 5th.
The 5th of January, and you expected to be in for day surgery?
Overnight.
Overnight?
Yeah.
How many days were you in hospital for?
6 days.
6 days?
Yeah.
5 nights, 6 days?
Yeah.
Why were you in hospital so long?
The right eye didn't want to play ball. It took a lot of effort to get it to the swelling down in it.
Okay.
The left eye was good. It was good almost from day one, but the right one played up.
So you went to the Sydney Eye Hospital here in Sydney?
Yes, Macquarie Street.
Macquarie Street. Do you go into full anaesthetic or part anaesthetic?
Part anaesthetic. They put you under for a couple of minutes.
Couple of minutes,
So that they can give you the injections in your eyeballs and around your face.
Did you see the needle going in your eyeball?
No, I was out. Thank God. I was out for that, and then you come back and you're awake while they lift the flaps on your corneas and they scrape them out.
With what?
A spoon, I suppose. I don't know. They were talking of these different names, all these special tools.
Right.
But yeah, they lift each flap, the flaps that were left from the original LASIK surgery, with a little resistance because of the growth. But they lifted each flap and in turn and scraped the cells, the errant cells that were growing underneath, scraped them out.
Right. How long did the procedure take?
Well, it was supposed to take 40 minutes, I was told, but I was in there for probably close to hour and a half. It was a lot bigger job than they thought.
Okay, so nearly 3 times as long?
Yeah.
And the left eye they got through pretty quickly, and
Yeah.
When we spoke the first time, you said that they did the cut on your eye for 110 seconds. Was that on both eyes?
No, that was the right eye, which is the one that we had all the problems with.
Okay.
Yeah, it had the most trauma initially, and it had the most growth underneath the tissue.
When you finished operation, you would have pads over both eyes?
Yes, I was blind for 24 hours. 24
hours blind, which is better than the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You'll be happy about that. I'll take a day.
Yeah.
Did they take both pads off at once, at the same time?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did, but I couldn't get the eyes open because they were all glued up.
And how long before your eyes opened up?
It took a few hours of soaking and checking until they opened. They opened up. They left the right one. The left one open because it was good. The right one they kept closed and patched because it was in poor condition.
Prior to going to China and the way your left eye vision is now, what's the difference? Is there a difference between how it was before the Chinese operation and today, or where are we at with the left eye?
Well, I can't really say. I can say that overall my vision now after the surgery does seem better than when before I went to China.
So, from what you remember, your vision overall is better than...
Yeah. My long vision is better. My short vision, I think, is a touch better as well.
That'd be my dog.
Yeah.
Okay. And your right eye, your vision in your right
eye? It's similarly, it's improved, but it's still not as good as the left eye. Left eye's always been the dominant eye.
Okay, and the right eye now is comparable to what it was prior to the operation in China?
Yes. At least, if not better. Yeah. Some of these errant cells left in the right eye, which was quite a surprise. I thought if anyone, any eye would be in the left eye. I thought they would be left in the right eye, but there's some errant cells left in the left eye.
In the left eye. So what do you have to do in the future now?
Well, he said that we need to keep an eye on it, and if they start to multiply, then we'll have to lift that flap again and clean them out.
When do you go back for them to look at your eyes again?
Another 2 weeks.
Another 2 weeks. So you're on 2 week?
Yes, 2 week checks.
2 week checks. He discussed, the doctors at Sydney Eye Hospital discussed the technology that the Chinese were using with you, and that's anything along these lines?
Well, I told them the technology that they were using because I described how the operation went and how I paid for the better knife to be used to cut the flap, which they all found was quite amusing.
Really? So you had a choice at the time, we never discussed this, you could have a sharp knife or a sharper knife, could you?
Yeah, the one that sharpened or the blunt one.
Oh, really? So tell me about the options you had with the knife.
Well, I had to pay another, I think it was 100 UN. It wasn't a great deal of money really in the scope of things, but 100 UN, and I could get the newer style knife for cutting the flap. All
right. And how is this operation conducted in Australia as opposed to how it's done in China, or in the technology you had in China?
Well, overall I think there's two main methodologies, and one is the type that I had, and there's another one where they use the laser to cut the flap. And
that would cauterise the cells on the cornea as it cuts, and that would stop that regrowth, possibly.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, the knife technology is older technology, and apparently the laser is the newer technology. What they said was that when they did possibly when they'd cut the flap, that the method that they used wasn't that good, and that they what they called sloughed off some cells, which means they weren't cut, they were sort of torn off and pushed underneath the cornea, and those cells then had a free range to multiply and grow, which caused the loss of vision.
So one would think, what would happen if you had the secondary knife?
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Well,
those poor buggers that couldn't afford the good knife.
The good knife. What I'd like to say is, so you spent 5 nights in hospital. So the operation cost you $1,500 in Australian in Beijing.
Yep.
And probably about $1,500 a night in hospital in Australia.
At least, yeah.
So $2,000.
Yeah.
All up, so it's 10 grand. And
then there's anaesthetists. I had the best corneal specialist in Australia do me.
So it's somewhere between 15 to 20 grand, the 5 days cost?
I'd say easily. Easily is a 20 grand operation.
From $1,500 to 20 grand.
Yeah.
But to be fair, your wife hasn't had any problems with her thing, or she has? How's your wife been?
Well, hers was, it seemed to go really well immediately. But after 3 months, she still hasn't got all her vision that she expected to get. She's still got some double vision. So we're a little bit worried that she might have some of these errant cells as well. So we've got an appointment for her to have her eyes looked at by a specialist.
Here in Australia?
Yeah. But her change, she went from having very thick glasses to not having to wear glasses at all overnight. So it was a radical change for her.
So she's basically been successful?
Yes, it's been successful in that regard, but there's still some areas that we're a bit worried about, so we're getting that checked out. It may be it just needs time, but we'll go to a specialist here and find out.
Okay. We've got, well, what we might do is we might finish up there. I'd like to come back and talk to you again and find out whether any of these errant cells in your wife's eye will reach their success, and we might have a chat in about 6 months and see how your vision is then. In the interim, have you got any advice for anyone travelling over there or considering getting the work done in China?
Well, yeah, don't do it. I mean, the cost factor, I didn't do it for the cost factor, it was really, I was there and my wife had it done, and...
You're an add-on?
Yeah, so don't do it for the cost factor, don't do it just, you know, like I did as a...
Off the cuff?
Off the cuff as a knee-jerk reaction to the situation that I was in. Research it heavily. It's not that expensive over here now.
Almost like compulsive buying you were, weren't you?
Yeah, I guess so.
The thing is that you probably need to have a good examination by Australian doctors of Australian or whatever country you're from prior to going to whatever country it may be and getting a cheaper operation done.
Yeah, look, if I had the research done in Australia, the investigation done in Australia, not in China, they would have warned me of all the things that could go wrong, and this is one of the things that can go wrong, and I would most likely have said no, I'm not going to do it. Of course, over there they didn't speak English, so they couldn't tell me what could go wrong. My wife was interpreting, but they weren't passing that much information on. So I didn't even know I had to get my cornea cut until...
Just about to happen?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even know that until I was sitting there and I saw a diagram of how it was done.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Question for you, have the Australian doctors asked you not to read, watch television or look at a computer screen?
No.
No. That struck me in the first interview, that struck me as an unusual thing.
Yeah, there was a lot of unusual requirements by the Chinese and very, very few requirements by the Australians, other than don't get water in your eyes. I was told in China not to shower for 4 or 5 days. Over here they said shower, but just keep your eyes shut.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. And towel your face off before you open your eyes. Makes sense.
Right. Are you got any discomfort in your eyes now?
None whatsoever, no.
Whatsoever. And you're healed from that bit of plastic they found in your eye the first time and they...
Yeah.
And that's all healed up?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it turned out pretty well for you, Clayton. Must be happy with it all now.
Well, I'm very happy. I just feel very foolish, quite frankly, that I took something so important so lightly, and I think that's probably the message that we need to pass on to people, that you've only got one set of eyes. Don't take an operation on your eyes lightly.
All right. Well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Leave it there. Thank you for your time, Clayton.
No worries.
Bye-bye.